Inside his home in Lackawanna County, Trooper Alex Douglas invites us in to sit down and ask the questions so many of us want to hear him answer. Kara Cook, Ralphie Morris, and John Monahan. While you might not recognize their names, their stories are hard to forget.
And 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
Leckey Time recently let loose at the ABC studios in New York City for a friendly chat with Katie Couric about her new talk show. With the new season comes some additional cast members and part of a new set. This area is known as Knocker's Hole. This is where those folks with all of the plague problems were kept.
Okay, set, action.
Salem is filmed on 15-plus acres of farmland in Louisiana because the creators say there just wasn't enough room in Hollywood or the real Salem, Massachusetts to build a small town for the TV series. While most kids his age are spending their first full week at kindergarten, Noah Ritter has some bigger plans.
To California to go on the Ellen Show.
After his video got 14+ million views on YouTube, this 5-year-old from Pottstown is now known to the world as
The Apparel Kid.
The Race for the Cure is one of the largest 5K fundraising events to hit northeastern Pennsylvania all year. 100% of the proceeds all aimed at changing lives. 25% goes to national research. The rest stays right here in our area. When it comes to season 2 of Manhattan, so much of it surrounds this high-tech tool behind me, the Gadget, also known as the world's first atomic bomb, weighing around 6,000 pounds. Newswatch 16 caught up with the cast and crew in Santa Fe, New Mexico this past July while they were shooting the second season. You've tackled so much in this show so far, but is there something you still talk about that, like, we gotta do this? This is one segment, you're like, Gelman, we're doing it.
You know what I was talking about the other day, actually. It just came up the other day. I would do it. I don't know if you would do it, but I want to do a segment where we go out and do Wipeout.
Dee Wong from Hong Kong starting off strong.
I watched that show and I'm going, oh, that would be so much fun.
But more important, a win for what this campaign is all about. Inspiring fitness, challenging disability, and changing the lives of kids and adults being helped by Allied Services.
Trooper Alex Douglas, in his own words.
Now to our Newswatch 16 special assignment report, where Trooper Alex Douglas describes what happened to him in his own words.
For the first time since he was shot 8 months ago outside the state police barracks in Pike County, Trooper Douglas talks about that horrifying night, his recovery, and his goals for the future.
He gave his first in-depth interview to Newswatch 16's Ryan Leckey, and Ryan is here with us now.
And guys, he definitely had a lot to say. It was an emotional experience. And my photographer and I spent days with Trooper Alex Douglas at his physical therapy appointments, his workouts, and at his home. Tonight, we really get a sense of what life has been like since that scary September night when he was nearly killed on the job. Inside his home in Lackawanna County, Trooper Alex Douglas invites us in to sit down and ask the questions so many of us want to hear him answer about what he experienced that night 8 months ago and how he's been striving to recover. Trooper Douglas takes a seat wearing a hat given to him by New York State troopers and a bracelet that says PSP Strong.
You ready to do this?
Yep.
Take me back to September 12th, the start of your day, and how it unfolded.
I drove up to the barracks at Blooming Grove for my shift that started at 11 p.m. at night and ran till 7 a.m. in the morning.
Trooper Douglas says when he first arrived at the barracks, he ran inside to grab a gym bag filled with his running clothes. He planned to use them the next morning when he was going to meet a friend after his shift.
When I was putting the bag in my car, I heard what sounded actually like fireworks going off. There's actually a gentleman that sells fireworks a little ways down from our station, so it wouldn't be unusual that that's maybe where it was coming from, the noise. But it was a simultaneous, it sounded like two loud noises going off at once.
Not knowing exactly what those loud noises were, the nearly 10-year state police veteran walked back toward the barracks to try to find out. As he neared the front entrance, he saw another trooper on the ground.
When I got closer to him, I noticed it was Corporal Dixon.
Trooper Douglas says he immediately started yelling to people inside to call for help. And then,
as I walked over to Corporal Dixon to see what the issue was, as I went over to him, that's when I got shot, and I went right down to my knees. Luckily, I was by the door, the front doors, and I grabbed onto the doors and opened the doors and was able to crawl into the station. At that point, I knew somebody was shooting at us. I crawled on my arms and dragged my legs, and I couldn't feel my legs at the time.
Douglas says 2 other troopers pulled him into the lobby area and knew he needed medical help fast. Corporal Dixon was still lying outside, not moving.
I didn't know what was going on. I knew somebody was shooting at us, and I didn't know why. I didn't know if it was an ambush. I didn't know if there was 12 guys out there. I didn't know if there was 1 or 2 guys.
Douglas says other troopers started securing the place, believing those bullets might have been coming from the woods across the road from the barracks. Eventually, the then 31-year-old trooper was taken away by ambulance to a location where he could be flown to Geisinger Community Medical Center in Scranton.
What's going through your head at this point when you're in the ambulance?
What was going through my head was I knew I was shot, and it appeared I thought I was shot in the leg, so I'm like, well, it's not that bad. It's, I'm shot in the leg, so I'm gonna live, and it's not too bad, I'm conscious. But ultimately, I didn't know that the pelvic area where I was shot carries it's one of the areas that carries the most amount of blood in the human body. And I actually coded, they call coded twice, that I know of on the table at CMC Geisinger while they were performing medical treatment on me.
So essentially you died twice?
Yes.
About a week after he had to be revived twice, Douglas started coming around, not really knowing what had happened to Corporal Brian Dixon.
So a week after you started coming to, you still didn't know he was killed?
No, I didn't know that. Until some troopers told me that, and I was notified, and I just sat there. I mean, I laid there in the bed, and I was just in shock.
The pair had worked together at the Blooming Grove barracks for only about 3 months. Corporal Dixon was Douglas's supervisor.
He was a supervisor that you would want to be like, and he wasn't just someone that would sit back and say, hey, do this, guys, do that. He was out there making DUI arrests, drug arrests. I mean, he made so many arrests, it was just so impressive.
Almost a week after the ambush, the day of Corporal Dixon's funeral, Trooper Douglas says he was in a medically induced coma. At the same time, hundreds of law enforcement officers from around the country had begun searching for Eric Freen in the Poconos. Police say he was the one who pulled the trigger. Freen soon became one of the FBI's top 10 most wanted in America.
As soon as I heard the name Eric Freen, I was trying to think that did I arrest, did I know him? Did it somehow through work, did I know the name? Did the name sound familiar to me? And I did not know the name. It was just very random.
And as this reached, though, 50-some days, so many people thought, this guy left the state. Ever once did that thought cross your mind that he wasn't in the Poconos?
I didn't believe that because I knew our guys wouldn't I knew all the law enforcement that were there, that were looking for him, wouldn't have let that happen. I knew he was probably still in the area.
As the search went on, Douglas tried to focus on his recovery, which included more than a dozen surgeries. State police guarded him and his parents around the clock. During the search for Freen, investigators held several news conferences that were carried live on television and radio. Douglas says at one point he decided to only rely on his trooper friends for updates after seeing rumors start to make headlines. Those rumors included one which alleged that Douglas was involved in a lover's triangle. The wounded trooper happened to live in the same neighborhood as one of Eric Freen's relatives.
I heard it and it bothered me, and then I turned around and I said, you know what, you can't let that stuff bother you, move on. None of this stuff was true.
7 weeks after the ambush, U.S. Marshals finally captured Eric Freen on the day before Halloween in an old airport hangar in Monroe County.
Where were you when you found out, and how?
I remember the night I was in Allied Services inpatient unit in a hospital bed, and I was watching the news, and I actually got a phone call from one of our troopers that said, hey, the U.S. Marshals got him, and I was ecstatic. I was like, that's that's great. I was so happy. I was in tears, actually. It eased everyone's minds.
As for any other comments about Freen or his thoughts on the Pike County District Attorney's decision to seek the death penalty in this case, Trooper Douglas says he can't comment because of the upcoming trial. In the meantime, Douglas continues to focus on his health and looks forward to the day he can get back on the job. When possible, he spends time attending events, many which involve Corporal Dixon's family.
Your relationship now with the Dixon family, what is it? Do you keep in touch with Tiffany and the kids?
My bond with Tiffany I feel is definitely stronger. She's a great person. I give her so much credit for what she's going through and how she's dealing with what she's dealing with the loss of her poor husband. Corporal Dixon's parents and family I met them several times, and they even motivate me. They put a smile on my face every time I see them because they're just great people too.
From so many people you talk to who go through huge life-changing events, what's the biggest thing you learned out of this about yourself or about people?
That people care. There's one person out there that causes harm towards others, but there's thousands and thousands of people that love you. I mean, PSP Strong helped me out so much, and I know they helped so many others out, but for me, I mean, they were the ones too that sold the t-shirts and came up with the PSP Strong. I thought it was, when I woke up and I heard about what they were doing, it was just amazing.
So the biggest thing, if you had to fill in the blank, that matters to you here, now, today, is what?
That I'm here, that I'm alive and healthy, and I'm gonna be healthier. I'm gonna be back, hopefully 99 to 100% back to normal, living a healthy life and enjoying myself.
And we heard a lot more from Trooper Douglas during our days with him. When we come back, you will hear about his road to recovery, and he reveals something that will probably surprise a lot of you.
They might look at you and say, "Are you crazy?"
Moments ago, we heard Trooper Alex Douglas describe in his own words what he experienced that September night when he was shot. His accused shooter, Eric Freen, still awaits trial. Now, we turn our attention to Trooper Douglas's road to recovery and his hopes for the future. On his dining room table, Trooper Alex Douglas laid out what he considers the most meaningful mementos that inspire him on his road to recovery, including pictures from past races like this 50-miler, along with other marathons.
The doctors actually said from my running long distance and doing CrossFit that actually saved my life, just because my heart was so strong. And
that heart stopped twice after Trooper Douglas was shot on September 12th, but doctors were able to revive him both times.
How many surgeries have you gone through?
I've gone through 16 surgeries, and I have one more surgery scheduled in New York, so that will be 17 in all. Hopefully that will be it.
Trooper Douglas credits countless notes of encouragement for getting him through, messages from as far away as Texas.
Every time I would read a card or a letter from someone, it would just motivate me.
During his recovery, Douglas overcame a severe infection and underwent a full hip replacement on his right side. He's also learning how to walk again with help from Allied Services in Scranton.
We've had to do a lot of gait training because he wasn't allowed to put weight through his leg for a very long time, and he kind of forgot how that was supposed to feel.
Alex wasn't just dealing with an orthopedic problem, he was dealing with multi-systems within his body.
All right, I upped the weight again on you.
Trooper Douglas goes to physical therapy 2 hours a day, 3 days a week, focusing on stretching and weightlifting.
Basically bringing the strength back into this right leg, the quad.
Also helping this trooper bounce back, this gym in Luzerne County, CrossFit Blarney Stone in Duryea. He invited us to tag along this past weekend.
You're not late, are you? You're gonna have to do extra work?
Probably.
In class, he's in his element.
Yeah, that should definitely be good.
Too much? Just
Yeah.
say it's too much.
It is family. I mean, they put up the PSP CrossFit sign for me and everything when I was in the hospital, and it kept me motivated to keep coming. My goal was to come back here ultimately.
He's the strongest person that we know.
His coach is Chandra Keeler. Keeler is also a state trooper. She and Douglas became very close about 7 years ago at the Blooming Grove Barracks. She gets choked up just thinking about that day last month when Trooper Douglas walked through the doors again at CrossFit Blarney Stone.
I'm sorry. It's emotional. For everybody, not just for the coaches. He has limitations now, and he's still getting off the couch every day doing CrossFit. It's incredible.
You have a huge goal in the fall that you want to do that I think if most people heard everything you've been through, heard of all the surgeries, they might look at you and say, are you crazy?
I want to run a marathon. That's my ultimate goal. I want to run in the New York City Marathon and to motivate others, hopefully, that, you know, this happened to me. I was down for, you know, at least 8 months, and I was so sick, and I almost passed away, and now I'm up.
This is the carrot at the end of your race.
That's it, yes.
It's a morning when so many of us woke up in a New York state of mind. Our stomachs filled with butterflies, knowing one of the world's biggest marathons was just hours away.
All right, we're getting ready to make our way to the Staten Island Ferry, heading to the starting line with us, some members of the team. They are bundled up, they're ready to rock and roll. Here we go.
We hopped in a cab outside our hotel near Central Park.
Are you nervous?
A little.
What's going through your head right now?
That I need to run 26.2 miles.
Right. It's really not the 26 that's bad. It's that .2 at the end that really gets you.
All right.
The journey to the start of the big race in Staten Island is like a marathon in itself for nearly 50,000 runners from around the world. The trip to the starting line lasted a few hours. From the cab ride to the ferry, eventually we hopped on buses where we were shuttled to the start. All of us trying to stay warm in a wind chill that's in the 30s. We're bundled up in old clothes, items that were donated to charities after the race. And before my group of runners took off, a good luck hug from a friend and a familiar face so many of you may remember. WNEP's former Pocono reporter, Regan Medji, who now works for the Weather Channel. Then, that marathon moment, months in the making. As we took off on our 26.2-mile journey across New York's 5 boroughs, the wind was relentless, at some points gusting up to 50 miles an hour. Regardless, our Ryan's Run team remembered why we were out here for those patients and allied like Kylie Doherty, Megan Mitchell, and Jake Olmstead. As we made our way toward the finish line in New York Central Park, millions cheered us on. Among them, well-wishers from back home. My morning photographer Corey Burns and I pushed on.
Hardest part of the marathon, right here. Hard.
And as we neared the end of this 26.2-mile adventure, we finished it like we started, with a sense of humor.
.2 to go. .2. That's what it's all about right here, right to finish. Thank goodness this isn't 27. I'd be out. No way. I'd be done. No way.
Finally.
Done. We finished.
Medals for WNEP's Ryan's Run team, but more important, a win for what this campaign is all about. Inspiring fitness, challenging disability, and changing the lives of kids and adults being helped by Allied Services.